Welcome to Performance Analytics and Reporting Office Hours. Glad that you could all make it today. We're going to get started. My name is Adam Stout. I'm an outbound product manager for Performance Analytics and Reporting, and welcome to our office hours. Before we get started with our presentation on governance and analytics, a couple of little housekeeping items we want to get started with. So the first thing is that this is a session for you. We're trying to bring you some new, fresh ideas. Please make sure that you just comment in on the office hours post if there's things that you'd like to see. You'll see what we have planned for the future, and we can certainly adapt that based off of your needs. This session is absolutely for you. As a reminder, you guys are all muted at this point in time. If you ask questions when we get to the Q&A, we can unmute you if we need to. But as a reminder, this session is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube later on. So if you're uncomfortable being recorded, you can note that in your question and we won't unmute you, but this session is being recorded and will be posted. And if you have questions, don't wait till the end. If you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A section in Zoom. You should see just a little Q&A button to hit. If you can, please put it in there. That allows us to make sure that we address your questions and we can follow up later with them as well. The chat gets a little mangled. So if you do have questions at any time, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A. When we get to the Q&A section, we'll answer the ones based off of the governance on the topic we're talking about today. But feel free to ask anything you want. We do have an hour here, and we're going to use as much time as we have. We'll stay on to answer your questions. When we do get into the questions, if something is a little too deep into your instance, whether it's sensitive data for you or it's something that really needs some debugging, we may ask you to create a case on high, or we may reach out to you or post something in the community with some screenshots. We do want to help you, but there's certain things where we can't get into all the detail in the time we have today. Sorry. And as far as the sessions go, as I said, these are recorded and they'll be posted. If you go into the office hours event in the community where you registered for this event, you'll see the upcoming sessions, and you'll see the previous event recordings as well. There you'll have the recording as well as the presentation and some links and some summary information about the presentation. So if you were looking for this presentation to go back to it, the recording's there, but also the deck for your reference. In addition, if you go to this link, the bit.ly office hours, that'll take you to the YouTube playlist. And these sessions are typically posted a day or two after we're done. And you will see that link added into the event page as well. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dan Kane, another outbound product manager who specializes in many, many things. If you ever get a chance to talk to Dan, if you get to see him at Knowledge, make sure you mob him. He's really just got an amazing amount of experience, and one of his main focus points has been governance. So Dan, are you there?
I am.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to you. And if you could enlighten us on governance, I'm looking forward to learning more.
All right, let's do this here. Okay, I always do the first check. It looks good. I'm sharing my slide. Does that everything look okay there?
It looks good.
All right, excellent. Thank you. So yeah, as Adam said, my name is Dan Kane. I am also another outbound product manager in the Now Intelligence business unit. So quick on my background, I actually spent about 20 years in the IT operations world, running various leadership and management positions around service desk, operations support, data centers, and really all of that. So that's and of course, this could be the time that my dog decides he wants out. So we'll get to him in just a moment. And then joined ServiceNow just over 7 years ago to, let me change my microphone to that. Okay, still can hear me fine, right? Still can hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So it's about 7 years ago, and I've been working as a implementation
consultant for just the overall platform, but then more specifically for performance analytics, really since we bought Mirror 42, the company, back in 2013. So I've been really working with it almost since day one. So from there, let me jump ahead. This is just a quick, very quick high-level agenda. One of my first takeaways I want everyone to get from this is the reminder that in-platform is not the same as external analytics, and we'll talk about. And I'm sure you've probably heard that message many times if you've attended these office hours. Then we'll talk a little bit about roles and responsibilities, some suggestions, suggested RACI charts, so responsibilities, and who's accountable, who's responsible, and then some brief discussion on the production versus dev. There is a lot here, so I also want to reference you to a very useful article, white paper in the community from an up-and-coming young prodigy. That would be me. Okay, so maybe not so much up and coming or young, but anyway, the point is a lot of what I'm referencing here is actually a white paper in the community. Which, since you're here, I assume you're familiar with the community. Okay, just quick high-level pieces here. Just a reminder first that we like to say all the time that analytics really are part of the platform. And it includes the other intelligence applications. So in addition to performance analytics, reporting, machine learning tools, natural language tools, virtual agent, metrics, application development, these are all pieces that come together to make the platform tool that is in-platform analytics. So we're really not just talking about the performance analytics is, unlike a lot of other reporting tools external to a system like this, PA is just one piece of the larger picture. So we need all these people involved. What that really means is that the traditional view of business intelligence reporting is very linear. That we have a sysadmin talks to and works with an application developer to make sure the permissions and the fields are there. The application developer works with the service manager to make sure that the correct fields are on their form. Maybe there's any business rules to run. But the whole point is that it's usually a very linear process, and we just have a very linear communication forum. What we want to move to with in platform is to really look at it as much more of a team sport. So the idea is that we need people involved on an ongoing basis to be able to handle a bunch of these different tasks. And these are just examples of them. We need database views, we need metrics, we need scripting, we need database structure, we need to understand the process, we need to understand how visualizations need to be done. These all come together not as a cohesive team, not as freestanding pieces. So let's just give a very high level background. So what I wanted to, with that background in mind, I want to give a suggested set of functional roles. I do want to distinguish this as functional roles versus system roles. These, in many cases, do have analogous system roles like PA, power user, or admin, or things of that sort, but they're not in. But the idea is that you want to think about how you apply functional roles around a program for in-platform analytics and intelligence. You want to think of the functional roles before you even start looking into the system roles. So what we recommend is, just like any other major program or process has within your greater ServiceNow instance, is we have an owner. You have a process owner for change management. You have a process owner for customer service management. We want a program owner. This is just some examples of how the ideas. I might throw in some names in here. But then we have a program owner that would be more of the executive level, senior manager, a functional manager, so that program owner is not the day-to-day, maybe meet once a quarter just to kind of help guide the program. Then we have a functional manager that is really more of the day-to-day and is not necessarily a technical role. Matter of fact, frequently is not They are really more of the people that can get things like, hey, we need funding for training. We need to make sure that we have the right skills involved at the right within the right roles. Other examples of roles that we may suggest are there's a dashboard owner, also frequently called a content owner. So, and that do put the examples of more commonly, what their system roles tend to be. Again, this is not going to be true all of the time, but very commonly. We have, so a content owner would be the person who is responsible, usually a subject matter expert, responsible for what goes onto a dashboard or some other sort of analytics content. So the idea is that they identify what is the business need for that dashboard. So a good example of that is you might have a change management subject matter expert that is the person that owns the change management dashboard, if you do a dashboard specifically for change management. So it's frequently a process or service owner. Then there is a separate role that we would call the analytics developer. And I bring this role up, but I really like to focus this role specifically to make the note that this is different than your standard, Tableau designer or BI designer. This isn't necessarily someone from your BI team. It's someone who actually creates the visualization layer, the visualizations in a performance analytics or in overall analytics program. So within the analytics developer, then beyond the analytics developer, we have a suggested role of the application developer. Now, this is the more traditional ServiceNow platform role that says, they develop the forms, the fields. So we need that person there. They are something that we consult with regularly on what is the relationship between data. So how do we actually need to get the data into the analytics environment, and where do we need to find it in the system? A system administrator that is responsible for make sure that roles are assigned. Maybe you have database views that you need to create a particular report or a particular dashboard. But the idea is that we want to make sure that this is not something that's done on a purely formal system level. I've had some customers, for example, that say that every new database view needs to have its own separate release or its own, it might be its own story, but the idea though is that is a development story that's in conjunction with the outcome you're trying to create within your new dashboard content or within your new analytics content. This is spelled out even more detail in the white paper I mentioned. Also talk about roles like the analytics administrator that would be responsible for that is not the same as a system administrator. So responsible for that kind of the go-between between the dashboard developers and the system admins. Now, in many organizations, these roles are stacked upon each other. So one person may wear multiple hats, for example. It is very common in early implementations for this analytics developer role to also be a subject matter expert on the content. It's very, very common in small early rollouts, as just one example of this. So it's a quick look at some of the functional roles. This is just have a slide that just reminds us of what the system roles are for this. We have that the PA admin is a very important role to be aware of. So we want to distinguish when we want to use PA admin and PA power user. These are not all of the roles. These are just some of the more common roles that are used on a let's say a real life scenario within most customers. All right, then I want to talk briefly about you're getting into the RACI chart and the production versus development type of questions. Within the analytics or within the greater ServiceNow development world, the platform world, we think of everything being done in development. 100% of all work being done in development, and then a design work is done in development. within the analytics world, we say that is mostly true, but there are some scenarios, some contexts where that may not be true all the time. And so what we suggest here is to have a suggested set of tasks that need to be done when you are building out content. And then where we recommend, either say you must do this in a sub-production, or we recommend you do it in a sub-production. So the idea is that we distinguish on this. There's and this is in the white paper as well. There's a color coding that does the distinction between for example, when we need to develop our data layer, we'd say that, hey, if you need to develop forms, fields, scripts, business rules, obviously we want all that to be done in sub-production. And we have roles that might be most common for what roles that might be assigned to. Let's see. But then we have things like where we have, and this is actually different than, hang on just a moment. I am grabbing a copy of that governance document so I can share that with you as well to give you an idea of the context for this. There we go. I will share out again. Here we go. But the idea is that I have this in this is the white paper that I was talking about. We have these suggested roles and who's responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. And then within these, we say that sub-prod recommended in many cases, production recommended, but you could certainly go either direction, and then a production only type of context within this. So for example, we say development of sources, indicator sources, breakdown sources. We say this is generally, we recommend this be done in your sub-production or your development environment. That's what we mean by these. But there are certain contexts where you might do that actually in production. When we get to the visualization layer, that's where things get to be very, very different. And we actually start to recommend that customers build, and this is recommended, doesn't mean you have to do it this way, but this is a recommendation, that we build the visualization layer itself in your production environment. So what that means is all of the content, all of the data that you need to create this content is already in your is already created in your development environment. However, when we're talking about now saying I want to create a widget based upon the data that's already been, the scores that have already been defined for me, it's going to be much easier on everyone if you develop those widgets, those visualizations within the production data. Again, you're not touching the data itself. You're only using the data that's already been screened and already been given the thumbs up through testing in sub-prod and through your testing environments and brought up to production. So we're just looking at the visualizations. The big reason for this is because since data in your sub-production instances is usually pretty awful, to be very diplomatic on that, it's usually worse than awful. The data in your development environment is usually pretty bad. So when you develop your visualizations in development using bad data, it is almost a guarantee that you'll need to do at least some modifications of those visualizations once you bring that up into production. So you'll need to be changing it anyway. But the idea is that we want to give you some ideas of where you might, the different tasks that need to be done, who might be responsible for these tasks, and where you might get it done. The biggest takeaway I want you to get from this, though, is to document. Document, document, document. You don't have to follow our recommendation, but it is extremely important that you have this documented for your organization. So that we also provide some examples of different scenarios of how you might modify some of this guidance based upon whether I'm a brand new PA implementation, I'm an early adoption, maybe I'm starting to update the existing environment to bring in some of the virtual agent or some of the other intelligence applications, that type of scenario. But then also another example scenario of I have a mature environment that needs to be more focused upon scale, and how do we start scaling things out and reaching a larger audience. So the idea is we're giving you some different options for how you might do that. I know we're running up close on time here, so I just wanted to give another shout out for this. One thing we've just added recently to this white paper is suggested for these different roles that I mentioned earlier. For these different roles, what are some of the suggested skill sets and or trainings or enablement that would be important for that role? So many of these videos are all free. They're just available on the community, or they're available for free at other places. So it's only where we start talking about where there are options for instructor-led content, like the PA fundamentals, is where you start getting into any sort of paid training courses. So the idea is, these are the types of questions that this role should be able to answer. If they can't, they need to understand their business side a little bit better. And this is the sort of additional training or additional enablement that role is that we suggest for that role.
Dan, I'll add in that Essentials should be for everybody. PA Essentials is a really easy class. I saw you have it listed for many of these, but not for all of them. And if you haven't taken it, even if you have years of experience, it's great to do. It's so easy to send out to somebody and have them do it. It makes your conversations go so much better. And also there was a recent, another class that we added is self-paced free. You'll start to see a trend with ServiceNow. Let's get you more training for free. ServiceNow fundamentals, not performance analytics, but ServiceNow fundamentals now has a free self-paced version, which I think we probably need to go back and add into here. ServiceNow fundamentals is the 3-day class. It used to be the sysadmin class, but there is it's now free and self-paced as well. There's still the instructor-led, which is an awesome class, but you can take it yourself. And I think when you start to get a little bit more technical, the more you understand about the platform, the more you're going to understand about performance analytics. It's free. You can take it when you want to take it. And I believe right now, if you go take the self-paced class, I think might be till the end of March. You have to go look at Now Learning, but they're giving you a voucher to take the system administration class for free. This is recorded, so I really hope I'm right about that. But I believe as a promo to get people interested in the self-paced, you go take the class, you can get the voucher, so you can become a certified administrator for free. And that's quite a price reduction from what it used to be. So if you haven't taken that, anybody on this call, I'd recommend doing that and start chomping through it. There's just a ton of material, but it's so rewarding. It is how you're going to really go to the next level of performance analytics. Sorry, Dan, back to you.
Nope. Okay. I just wanted to wrap up here with just kind of the key takeaways from all of this. Top level takeaways. Remember that our in-platform analytics is not handled the same as external business intelligence or BI. It is absolutely critical that we have that executive level guidance. So we talked about that as a role, a very important role in this. I would say is that your chances of a successful in-platform analytics program is greatly diminished if you do not have top-down executive level guidance within this, ongoing guidance. Start simple and then expand. So in my scenarios examples, I start where it's a very small limited scope group, and start very simple. Start with a single business case, a single use case for your analytics journey if you're just getting started with it. And then also be very planful. It's not as obvious just to say do everything in development. Be very planful about what you want, about what you will do in development and what you will do in production, and then be very consistent about how that is applied. And again, we offer guidance for all of these, so we offer that as a good template. But just like any other framework, it's a suggestion. It's saying this is what works well for many customers. Tweak it as you need to. So that is it.
Thanks, Dan. So now we'll open up to questions. So if you have any questions about the governance, please throw them into the Q&A window. We have one, so we'll get started with that. And then if you have any other questions about anything, hopefully performance analytics related, but whatever you want to ask, we're happy to try to tackle those as well. So this first one is from Stephen, and it's a great question. And it's related to what we're talking about. So the question is, why do you have to be a PA power user to add a PA widget to a dashboard? Everything else, you just need anything, right? You can have SNC internal, anything you want. Anybody can create a dashboard. Anybody can create a report. Anybody can, or almost anybody can create a report. Anybody can add a report, an interactive filter to a dashboard. Why do I need PA power user to add PA? And the question and the reason for this, it's not on the governance side as much as it's a more technical security issue. The way that there's a difference between reporting and PA widgets. Reporting widgets use ACLs to see if you have access to the data for a list view and you have access to the report at all. And that's why you sometimes see you have the use case where I have access to the dashboard, but I get the message you don't have access to see this report, because there's a second level of security. With performance analytics widgets, there's no second level of security. If you can see the dashboard, you can see the widget. You can see what's in there. That second, I'll tell you what, there is a second level, but it's not on view time, it's on creation time. So the way that we control who can see what is by controlling who can add it to a dashboard. And the scenario that we're preventing is if everybody can add widgets to a dashboard, I could have a widget that is if I have HR, the number of targeted offboarding events in the next quarter, right? The number of planned ones. Something I may not want everybody to see, right? The number of P1s that have come in, the number of regressions, the number of security incidents, unhandled security incidents. There are certainly some PA indicators and widgets that can exist that are that should not be global, that not everybody should see. If I allow everybody to add a widget, if that widget exists, anybody could add it to their dashboard. Anybody can share their dashboard with anybody. So I could give myself access and I could share things that I don't want to do, that should not be shared. The way we prevent that is by saying you have to be a PA power user. So any power user could share those things, but that's a subset of everybody. If you are looking to share it, I thought we had an article on this. If not, I think we have one in the queue that comes up about how you can extend the widgets, the system widget. Well, the way that you do it is you create a system widget that allows you to say which widgets are global. So while I was saying there might be some I want to block, there might be plenty where anybody can throw this on, right? The number of incident backlog, anybody can add that widget on there. I want to have anybody be able to do it, but not give everybody power user. If you create a system widget, that's not a PA widget and it's not a service portal widget, but a system widget, you can do the same thing. You can have it add widgets. And what I've done in the past is I take the PA widgets record, I extend it by giving it a whitelist, like anybody with this role, anybody with a manager can add this widget. Anybody with ITEL can add this widget, but not the HR, right? The HR ones are restricted differently. I extend that to know what's in there. I create a system widget that allows me to pick up those things based on what you have, and you can get around it. But again, the reason it is there for a very specific purpose. You got to be careful if you're going to try and change that. And you can, but again, be very careful. And it is something on how we resolve, how do we make a better connection between reports and performance analytics and dashboards in general. We're trying to evolve those models so that there's more alignment between them, because right now there certainly is a little bit of difference. Okay, good. And now if anybody has any other questions, again, whether about governance or anything related to PA, we're happy to answer them. We can give it a couple minutes for you guys to type those in. If we don't have any pressing questions, then we can wrap up a little bit early. But we'll just wait a minute. Or not a whole minute. All right. Dan, I'm going to turn off your sharing.
Okay.
Maybe.
I can just stop too.
And I got a couple slides to wrap up, and we can wrap up a few minutes early. You're seeing a blank PowerPoint slide?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so we will wrap up a couple minutes early. Between now and the next 2 weeks, when we have our next office hours, if you have questions, don't wait for 2 weeks. Post them in the community. Lots of great stuff that's going on in the community. Lots of questions getting answered. We're seeing that volume really tick up. So make sure that you search the community in case somebody already had the question you had and had the answer about it. And if not, post a question. All of us on the phone look at it. Partners are answering questions. Other customers are helping. You guys are helping yourselves. Take advantage of that. Get the answer you want quickly. I always do recommend, if you can post a screenshot, even if you have to blur it out, post a screenshot. It really helps get you the right answer in the first response rather than having to go around and around to get to the bottom of your answer. If you missed some of our office hours, go catch up on the recording. So like we said, on the office hours event page, you have a link to a recap for every office hours. Once it gets posted, you get the deck and the recording. If you go into the YouTube link, you can get all of them. There is a playlist for ServiceNow Performance Analytics office hours, which is bit.ly/PA office hours. You can watch them all, but I recommend you go read the recap because you can get the deck there as well. And if you have ideas, a lot of times when we're talking on these calls, ideas come up. If you have a question and you can't get the answer or you don't like the answer, it doesn't do what you want to do, please submit your idea into the idea portal. It's in the community as well. In the top, we look at the idea portal. That is how we're planning the next releases, how we're planning what we're going to talk about here, if there's something we can do. But if you have ideas, we want to hear them, especially you guys who put the effort in, who understand what PA can do for you, and you want to make it better. We want to hear what you have to say. And Knowledge 20 is coming up. Lots of great customer presentations. I'm really excited about what we're going to see. The secret is for you on the phone is don't go to our labs. We have some great labs. We got 9 PA and reporting labs plus 3 CreatorCon labs. They're awesome. If you go to Knowledge, you will have access to them after the fact. We don't record them, but you'll have the deck and the lab guide. Whatever you can do, go to the customer presentations. They're amazing. They're motivating to me. I love seeing them. I know when I talk to other customers, they love seeing what's going in there. It is the only place you will see it live. They are not recorded. Go to Knowledge. Go see the customer presentations. If there's really nothing, then come to our labs. But again, you'll have access to those labs. And you also do, I believe everybody now has access to the K19 labs. So if you're interested in seeing what's gonna go on, go take a look in the Knowledge 2020 link at the top of the community. There's the on-demand library. If you search for performance analytics or reporting 101, 201, 202, and 301, and PA 101, 102, 201, 202, 203, and 301 and 302. Lots of great content out there from last year. It's being updated, a couple new labs. You have access to those, and you will have access to the 2020 ones as well if you go to Knowledge. I believe it takes 6 months before we open them up to everybody. And we do have another question, which I don't have an answer to. So there's a question about reporting on multi-row variable sets, and I have not looked at that yet about how we do this. I still need to dig into that. So Lisa's asking about that. I'll post something in the community when we dig into it, but I do not know off the top of my head about that. Dan or Thomas, do you guys know about how we report on multi-row variable sets?
I wouldn't have anything more to add to that at the moment.
We will do some more digging, Lisa. I know we owe that. You've been asking for that. And I do appreciate that you posted that in the community because there is a wide world out there. Okay. So one question we got answered, one we didn't get answered. Hopefully you got a lot out of Dan's presentation. I know I did. I love seeing that and to understand that there's a lot more to PA than just the technical side. A lot of times we forget that, but it's so true. How do you set yourself up and govern what you're going to do when you want to scale out your performance analytics and reporting solution with ServiceNow? Putting that governance in is key to your success. And with that, we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. We look forward to meeting you in person at Knowledge and talking to you in the community.